Good afternoon. I'm Mark Cuthbertson, councilman for at least another 5 weeks with or 4 weeks with the town of Huntington. And I am proud to be joined by Councilwoman Joan Sergel. I send regrets from Supervisor Lupinacci, Councilman Cook, and Councilman Smith, who could not be here. The generous donor of this wrecked vehicle from Gershow Recycling, Kevin Gershowitz. Thank you for being here, Kevin. From the 2nd Precinct, Deputy Inspector David Lawler, thank you for being here. He's also joined by Sergeant Zanelli, Officer Fioranti, and Officer Richards. Thank you for being here. We are very honored to be joined by Kathy Busatil, who unfortunately is the sister of a drunk driving accident victim. And from Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Sean Hurst, and who is the Regional Executive Director for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and the MAD Program Manager, Issei Fuentes, is here. So we thank them for being here. Thanksgiving to New Year's Day is the most dangerous time period on the road in our nation. It is an unfortunate reality that during this holiday period, people will throw inhibitions aside and make the poor decision to get in their car and drive drunk. Accidents occur, and innocent people become victims of drunk drivers. The car behind us today is a sobering reminder of what can happen when you drink and drive. People are killed and families are ripped apart. The town of Huntington has partnered for the past several years with Mothers Against Drunk Driving to promote their public awareness campaign to tie one on for safety. Tie one on for safety. Tie this ribbon to your car handle and remind yourself and remind others that it will always be there to tell you don't drink and drive. And if you know you're going to drink, and that's a part of some people's holiday festivities, great. Make a plan, designate a driver, schedule a car service, or decide to stay put and stay at home and invite others over. If you see someone who is going to drive, who has been drinking, save a life. Tell them not to do it. Persuade them and everyone else around them to tell them not to do it. Let's make this holiday safe, and let's begin by tying one on for safety this year. If you would like a ribbon, please call my office at 631-351-3171, and we will send it to you. I want to thank everyone for coming today, and I'm first going to turn it over to my colleague, Joan Sergel, for a few remarks.
Thank you, Councilman Cuthbertson. Indeed, it's a somber day for a somber subject, and one we must pay attention to year after year. Some additional facts to share. On average, 29 people in the U.S. die every day in accidents involving an alcohol-impaired driver, according to the CDC. In New York State, a blood alcohol count of 0.08 or higher constitutes a DWI, 0.04 or higher for drivers of commercial vehicles, and 0.18 constitutes aggravated assault. Now, it's important to understand that violation of these laws could result in up to 7 years in prison, $10,000 in mandatory fees, and having a license revoked for at least 18 months. We also should talk about distracted driving, which is any activity that takes your attention away from safely operating your vehicle. Examples, of course, include texting, an activity that takes your eating, drinking, fiddling with stereo or GPS, etc. And it's also sobering to know that 3,000 people died from accidents involving distracted driving in 2019. That's a big number. So what are some of the alternatives to drunk driving? We have HART bus routes all over the town, including areas like Northport Village, Huntington Station, Huntington Village, that have a high concentration of bars. There's also options of Carmel, Uber, Lyft, or a taxi service. I want to wish everybody a wonderful holiday. Please do, when you pass through this intersection, let it be a somber reminder of the possibilities of what happens when you're either drinking and driving or you're distracted and driving. And I want to thank you for your attention and turn it back to my colleague, Mark Cuthbertson.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sergel. I also wanted to thank our Director of General Services, Andre Sorrentino, who helped put this display together, and the people in his department who are here. And I'll also add to Councilwoman Sergel's remarks, there are also car services that will come pick you up with your car. So if you're a person that Uber doesn't make sense for, there are car services out there. It costs a little bit more, and they'll come and pick you up with your car, and your car will be safely at home the next day so you can go about your business. With that, I'd like to call up President of Gershow Recycling, Kevin Gershowitz, and thank him again for helping us with this display.
Thanks for the promotion, Mark. Well, happy holidays to everybody, and thank you to the town of Huntington and everyone for partnering for this. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Focus your camera on the cars. There's no reason to drive drunk today. There's no reason to drive impaired. There's no reason to drive if you just don't feel well. Technology has afforded us the ability of Uber, Lyft, and all the type of ride-sharing services. I urge you, take advantage of them. Have fun. Stay away from your car if you're having fun. Enjoy the holidays.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll give another plug. You know, Gershow is obviously the largest of their kind on Long Island, and 70% of cars in the United States are made from recycled steel. So you're doing a great thing for the environment when your car ends up with Gershow at the end of its life. With that, I'd like to call upon Deputy Inspector Lawler to add a few remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd first like to offer the department's condolences to all those who have suffered tragedies on the roadways. I know it's a pain that does not fade easily, and I would like to say that the department shares our citizens' concerns for traffic safety. You know, in the United States every year, in the entire nation, we have about 40,000 people who are killed every year on the roadways, and about 1/3 of those are from DUI involvement, alcohol-related accidents. And the preliminary numbers for 2020 are showing that even though in the United States we saw 13% fewer miles driven, we've seen also 7% more fatalities. The concern we have, and the reason why you hear messages like this time of year, is that the loss of life in DUI crashes, it's needless. It's needless because it's preventable. It is true our suburban county depends primarily on automobile travel, and the risk is not zero, but we can lessen the risk when we remove intoxicants and distractions from our equation. It takes planning, it takes effort on everyone's part, but it's not beyond us to accomplish. So the police department will do our part. We will perform the mission that you, the electorate, has given for us. We will do our enforcement in the hope to establish deterrence, and through deterrence, voluntary compliance with our traffic laws. And so you'll see extra holiday patrols. We'll be doing DUI patrols, marked patrols. You'll also see traffic sobriety checkpoints this time of year. But still, we together can accomplish more than just a few alone. We all have to make a decision every time we get behind the wheel to do so responsibly. And always, but especially now, there's many competing concerns in our lives. It gets overwhelming sometimes. So we offer here today a reminder as we get in and out of the car so often going about our daily lives and we forget about the risks, to just remember that when we choose to drive, when we get behind the wheel, to do so without intoxicants, without distractions, to do so safely. And so together then, you know, all of us together, we can make the holidays safer on the roadways. But finally, in closing, I would like to, on behalf of the department, wish everybody a happy holiday season. Thank you, Mr. Cuthbertson.
Thank you very much, Inspector. Now I have privileged to call up Kathy Bustill, who is the sister of a drunk driving accident victim, and I appreciate her courage in coming forward and being here today.
Hi, my name is Kathy Busatel, and my sister Karen LaBarbera was hit by a drunk driver driving daylight hours, only 2 traffic lights east of here on August 30th, 2013, 8 years ago. The woman that hit her blew a .20 at the scene. That's like almost 3 times the amount that's legal. She had gone to the beach, drank, went to Wallbaum's, got her nails done, then destroyed not only my sister's life, but our entire family's. This drunk gave no regards to what consequences could occur by drinking and driving. My sister was airlifted in spite of the fact that they don't normally invest in that if they don't think that you'll live. Karen was bleeding out from her femoral artery and went into cardiac arrest. They revived her at the scene, and fortunately one of Suffolk County Police Department officers approved the lift. Thank you very much. On the flight to Stony Brook, once again my sister suffered cardiac arrest, and once again they revived her. As you know, the brain wasn't getting any oxygen during that time. They surgically opened her abdomen while in flight to detect if there was any internal bleeding. My sister suffered collapsed lungs due to the disregard of this drunk driver T-boning my sister. As I said before, her femoral artery was bleeding out along with bleeding on the brain. Once again, she went into cardiac arrest on the helipad at Stony Brook. Her shoulder was shattered, her orbital around her right eye was shattered, the vertebrae in her neck was fractured, and that was only a portion of her injuries. Karen was placed in an induced coma, along with a ventilator and a respirator and a bolt in her brain. When I received the call that she had been airlifted, I knew that wasn't good at all. Because of this woman driving drunk, I was told by the surgeon to call the family in. Her injury is too severe. They gave her only up to 48 hours at the most to live. Well, due to the extent of the brain damage due to the bleeding in the 3 different places in the brain. My sister endured 23 surgeries in 25 days while in an induced coma. Her left leg kept getting amputated higher and higher till it was about 2 inches from her hip. My sister also lost the sight in her right eye, as well as I said, the shoulder, a broken nose, clots, stitches, loss of teeth. The brain damage is there, but not to the extent we feared, all because of the irresponsibility of this drunk driver. My sister Karen's life, as well as her husband and children's, has been altered forever. Why? Because a drunk driver was on the road. This crime has affected my entire family, all in our own way. Karen's are physical day to day, pain and handicapped. Her children and husband try to cope each and every day with how this crime has changed their lives. Me, I'm still haunted by what I saw of what was left of my sister, who before this horrific crime was a whole person, healthy, vibrant, and painless. This organization, MAD, has educated so many, but we must push harder to get everyone's attention. This could happen to anyone, anywhere, your child, your mother, your sister, your grandchildren, anywhere, anytime. This pain could be any of yours, and it lasts forever. Without the compassion and caring and support of MAD, as well as the Suffolk County Police Department and the DA's department, I wouldn't be here. Actually, I couldn't be here. It's way too painful. But if this can stop one person from drinking and driving, the anxiety I'm going through right now will be well worth it. Thank you very much.
Kathy, we cannot thank you enough for that. Thank you for just reminding us in such detailed terms what it means when someone takes the road and does this and what it can do to a family. I really, that was heartfelt and wonderful. I'd like to call up as the last but not least in the group of speakers, Regional Executive Director Sean Hurst.
Thank you for having us here today, and thanks to the town of Huntington and to our partners in law enforcement for continually bringing awareness to this horrendous, 100% preventable crime that we unfortunately see too much of. Every 52 minutes, someone is killed by a drunk driver. and every 2 minutes, someone is injured in a drunk driving crash. And this is 100% preventable. So at Mothers Against Drunk Driving, we fight every day for a world with no more victims. But until we get to that time, we do our best to work with our victims. I really want to say a special thank you to Kathy for sharing her story today. It's not easy, but we're always here to support victims of drunk and drug driving. We work really hard to work with the youth in our communities to provide programs to promote prevention of this in the future. And we urge everyone to please tie one on for safety this holiday season. Please make a plan. Designate a driver. There's no excuses with rideshare. Everyone can do their part. So thank you again.
Thank you, Sean. That concludes our press conference. Remember, it's Giving Tuesday, and what a great way to give them one of these ribbons and remind them not to drink and drive. Thank you.